What's going on, y'all? It's JD Piquel. Today on the Hard Count, we're going to check in on the 4 teams that are going to be added to the Big 12 and set expectations for them the rest of this season. Welcome into 365 Sports, the place that has you covered year-round on everything college sports, specifically right now, college football. We want you a part of this. We want you to subscribe, join the community, contribute to the conversation. A lot of great things for you on this channel you can't get anywhere else. Now, as for the Hard Count, we specifically will be moving in the near future. No name for the channel yet, no date for when that's going to happen. Just wanted to let you know because we want you to come with us when that does happen. Okay, there's a lot of things going on 365 Sports. Again, subscribe to this channel. Keep an eye out for the next channel for the Hard Count and all it's going to be. So, Houston, BYU, Cincinnati, UCF were all announced recently. We're joining the Big 12. We're coming to the party. We're going to be there. What's going on? 2023, we're here. And for a lot of people in the Big 12, you're now saying, okay, well, let's keep an eye on them. Let's see what they're going to do. What's going on with Houston? What's going on with BYU? A lot of us are getting educated on these teams right now. A lot of us are trying to keep a pulse and get up to speed with what to expect for them when they do join the conference. And the best way to get a pulse on a team when they are going to join your conference is to keep track of their current standings and kind of track them until they join in 2023. So that's what we're going to do. For this season, I'm just going to go team by team and tell you what I think is realistic and tell you what I think is the ceiling and the floor for all 4 of these teams. So without further ado, Ardeur, I think, is French. Adieu might be French, too. Houston looked pretty solid these first 2 games of the year. They had a good showing against Texas Tech, really had that game not won, but they were in control for the most part until they lost that game. Looked really great against Rice. And I think Rice is a better team than most are giving credit. They got to go play Navy. They got to go to Tulsa, to Tulane, have East Carolina. I mean, they don't have to play any of those big, bad superpowers with Cincinnati, with UCF. But I think a lot of these games are winnable for Houston. Houston, to me, right now, is in the least favorable position when they jump into the Big 12, and really for this season. I don't know they have the horses necessarily on offense to be able to win the games that will be crucial to them being like an 8-win team or a 9-win team, but I think 6-6 is very realistic for them. Again, you have to play SMU. USF could give you trouble. I think Memphis could give you trouble. But bottom line, Houston's going to be a bowl team. And if you're a Big 12 fan, you should be excited about that because in my mind, the least prepared, I don't know if least prepared is the right word, but the team that I'm the most concerned about making this jump in Houston is still going to be in the bowl conversation, which is a great look for you if you're joining a conference. Moving on to BYU, I don't think there's a game on BYU's schedule that they can't win. I'm not saying BYU is going to go undefeated the rest of the way. I'm not saying BYU is going to be a New Year's Six team. I'm just saying I think BYU has the horses, has the firepower, has the skill players, has the quarterback, has the coaching to put together a really solid season. We'll learn a lot about them against Arizona State this Saturday. I think they win that game. We'll learn a lot about them when they go to McLean Stadium to play Baylor. That's a very big game because then we'll see, okay, how much do you have in the trenches to play a team like Baylor whose defensive line is really solid? They've got a lot of speed on defense. That's going to be a great litmus test for us. And to just see, okay, how far behind or how far ahead are you on schedule to being able to compete with a Big 12 team? I think BYU is going to make that a heck of a game. I think BYU could maybe win that game. I'm not going to make a pick on it now because that's way too far in the future and there's a lot of things that could happen until then. But BYU is in a really good spot to make some noise. Other game that we should look at. They go to USC to end the year. I think that's a game that they could win emphatically. I mean, we just lost Clay Helton for USC. The wagon's starting to go off the tracks. No reason they can't come in there and make a statement. A big win in the Coliseum. You tell me that wouldn't do something for recruiting in the state of California? Just a thought. So BYU, I think they could be, honestly, somewhere around a 9-win team. Maybe even 10 if things go their way. I like BYU a lot, and I like them a lot going forward. As long as Kalani Sitake's calling the plays for BYU, or I should say calling the shots for BYU, they're in good position. Really love what they're going to bring to this conference. Cincinnati. Cincinnati and UCF are probably 2 of the most interesting to look at because they've been Power 5 caliber programs, as has BYU. But Cincinnati and UCF right now are kind of a hot topic. They're kind of the hot brands, if you will. They play Indiana this Saturday, Cincinnati does. I think they win that game pretty handily. Indiana doesn't have the horses right now. I don't think they have enough that they had last year to be able to compete with Cincinnati. They showed that early against Iowa. Cincinnati also will play Notre Dame. They go to Notre Dame on October 2nd. And for me, I think that's where we learn the most about Cincinnati. And I think they win that game too. Like, there's not a game on the schedule. I said it with BYU. I'll say it with Cincinnati. There's not a game on this schedule where I say, yeah, they're probably going to get blown out there. A lot of tough games still. I think Tulsa will be a tough game. I think SMU will be a tough game. But with Luke Fickell running the show for you, you always got a chance. And that program's going to continue to build. I'm not going to get into the USC job too much, but if Luke Fickell doesn't take that job, decides to stay at Cincinnati, I think that's the key ingredient for you. That's the straw that stirs the drink at Cincinnati. That's the guy that's going to make you relevant in the Big 12. I think they will be relevant in the Big 12, but having the continuity of keeping your head coach is going to be crucial. So for Cincinnati, it's going to come down to the dance with UCF. They play them at home October 16th. And that's the game where I would imagine College Game Day should be there if they're not. I don't know who else is playing on the 16th, but that'll be up for contention for sure. That's a game I'm watching. And that could potentially be a Big 12 championship game in the not-too-distant future, depending on how they split up the divisions. Love Cincinnati. I don't see a game on their schedule where they're going to be in huge trouble. Besides UCF, should learn a lot against Notre Dame. SMU's a sneaky one. You keep your eye on that game. That'll be at home towards the end of the year, November 20th, second to last game. I think they'll play for the conference title. I have UCF winning the conference title, which we'll get to in a second, but Cincinnati is in tremendous position to make a lot of noise day one once they enter into the Big 12. Now, UCF, it just comes down to that game for me against Cincinnati, October 16th. Do you have the firepower? Do you have the trenches built out enough to be able to run with Cincinnati, to be able to go toe-to-toe with a team like Cincinnati? I think you do. I think Dylan Gabriel is the differentiator. I trust him more than I trust Desmond Ridder. And this isn't a conversation of, who's going to win the American Athletic Conference per se, but I do think that holds a lot of weight in this conversation, because right now those are the two teams that I think are most prepared to jump in day one and make a huge impact, especially UCF because of what they have in terms of access to a recruiting hotbed in the state of Florida. So UCF's only going to get better, but as for this season, I don't see a loss in their schedule. They should be favored in every single game they play the rest of the way. I don't see a loss in their schedule. Tulane gave Oklahoma some trouble. We'll see what they're worth in the long run. At Navy, with that triple option, you never exactly know how a team's going to respond. But when it comes to just the weapons they have at UCF, the coaching they have in Gus Malzahn, they're going to be a team that jumps in day one and makes a huge impact. And I think, honestly, they should be in a New Year's Six Bowl. At the end of this year, when it's all said and done, UCF should be playing for a New Year's Six Bowl. Will they win it? I don't know. Depends on who they draw. A lot to be determined there. A lot to be unpacked there. But I love Dylan Gabriel. I love Gus Malzahn. I love especially what they have on offense with their weapons, with the running game. They're going to be in good shape. Bottom line, you got really three teams that could compete for a New Year's Six Bowl. Now, I understand you're probably picking between UCF and Cincinnati for who ends up in that New Year's Six Bowl spot there. But you got three really, really strong teams and another bowl team coming to the Big 12 in 2023. Are all those coaches still there in 2023? I hope so, because those are some guys that have built programs out and allowed them to be in this competitive spot, to be able to take into a Power 5 conference, to be able to have their ticket to the big dance. And so for their sake, I hope they're still around to be able to see the fruits of their labor, because I think there's a lot of great things coming their way this year. Hopefully they don't get poached by another program. Remains to be seen. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. That's it for us here at The Hard Count. Appreciate you tuning in. Keep an eye for this channel to be, this show to be moving. This channel will stay the same. This show will be moving to another channel. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.